Hey everybody, this is Bill Hoy. I'm back, part 3 of Order for Hours. And let's just motor on. I don't want to make too many of this, but Bill Hoy, my YouTube channel, What in the World's Going on 1, and we're moving along here with Order for Hours. I left off with the U.S. military as the axis of evil, along with other militaries, and it's a shame. Yeah, I know. There's young men and women that think they're doing the right thing, but you're not. Intentions are not good enough, folks. Intentions are not good enough. It's your actions. It's what you're involved in. And it needs to end. The Founding Fathers of America warned us about having a standing professional army that would destroy, not preserve liberty. Destroy liberty, not preserve it. Founding Fathers knew this. And of course you have people that will say, well, that was a long time ago. Well, first thing, that was about 250 plus some odd like years ago. This planet is like 15 billion years old. Human beings have been around for 100, maybe even 200,000 years. 250 years is a blip on the radar screen, man. And once again, natural law exists universally. Natural law is just as valid back when human beings were extremely primitive, and applies all the way to human beings today. It applies to all intelligent beings of higher thinking capabilities in the whole entire universe. This law is a universal wide, eternal principle. Principles are eternal. For all of you, that was a long time ago. I have no words for you. Well, actually I do, but let's just continue on. I want to get through this. They also warned us, the Founding Fathers, about an army growing within our midst. We blew that one. The police, and yeah, we blew that one. That's long gone. In fact, I'd be willing to say that our American police force, if we mobilized them all together, like state and local police of every state and locality, mobilized them all together and decided to invade another country, I think the American police, with just the weapons that they have, could be a formidable force in the world, could probably stand up to a lot of other countries, a lot of other major countries' militaries. The American police can go and invade other countries and whoop people's butts. And of course, being immoral, that would be incredibly immoral. Just trying to make a point, okay? These police forces, just the local police force in my okey-doke little Ocean County town, they have 3 armor-plated Humvees with the 50 cal mount, and you know that 50 cal ain't far behind. Let me tell you something, Jack. For all you little boys out there, we're gonna take on the police state. Take a look at what a 50 cal does. First thing, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from righteous rebellion. Righteous rebellion is absolutely righteous. But I'm just talking about these little boys. We talk about, especially, like, I knew a bunch of little boys that were talking about rising up against Hillary Clinton and the police state, and back during an election. And then what do? They go running to a voting booth. A bunch of little boys. You're a little boy. A little boy. I don't believe anybody should turn their guns in, but you know what? Maybe these little boys should actually turn their guns in. Or at least give your guns to a real man. Don't turn them into the government. But once again, I do not advocate for taking guns from anybody. I don't care what somebody says. You never take somebody's gun. But, these order followers suffer from dysfunctional thinking, logic, and are in a state of psychosis. Now we're going to get into the nuts and bolts and where I'm going to finish here with order followers. That's the nuts and bolts of this. And just one thing about the little boys that I did mention about, just going back to that, I want to mention that, these little boys, they're men, but they're little boys. These little boys are talking about, these men who are little boys are talking about, this is where I work, these little boys would get together and have their little powwows about, ranting about Hillary Clinton and all this stuff, and these are a bunch of little boys who think that they're going to take on an American police state armed to the hilt with 50 cals, drones, armor-plated Humvees, tanks, with their pop guns. And don't misunderstand me here. AR-15 and AK-47 are very good, formidable weapons, and I'm not trying to say that just because a certain force is more weaponized than another force, then that that should mean that you automatically give up and never fight for your freedom. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is these little boys don't understand what they're talking about and trying to get involved in. And these are a bunch of little boys who think that they're going to take on pretty much a military, and these little boys don't even have the courage to stand up to their supervisor. And then, of course, what do? After they're done doing all their ranting and talking, they go running to a voting machine like the cowards that they are. Let's continue. Order followers suffer from dysfunctional thinking, logic, and are in a state of psychosis. And this is big, man. This is big. This is where it gets to the crux of it. These order followers are basically unconsciously aware. They're not conscious. They're unaware of what's in their unconscious. And these order followers will basically come right out and say, not in these words, but they will say basically that they are not in control of themselves. That someone else is. Excuse me, I don't make the laws, I just enforce them. That basically means I am not in control of myself, that someone else is in control of me. They're admitting that they're not even in control of themselves, that they can't even think for themselves and don't want to. And see, deep down unconsciously, when they say, I don't write the laws, I just enforce them, basically when they're in the act of putting handcuffs on somebody and forcibly kidnapping them and taking them to a cage, they basically are saying in their unconscious, I am not doing this to you. I am not engaging in violence against you and taking your rights. The people who command me are. It's a form of dissociation. Larkin Rose talks a lot about this in The Most Dangerous Superstition. Larkin Rose gets deep into this. I really can't stress getting this book enough. But these individuals are they're like in a state of disassociation. They're in a dissociative state, in a sense, to where they're not really consciously thinking about what they're doing. They're just doing something, and they're saying, this politician made this law, so that politician's doing this to you, not me. When they're the ones actually engaging in the violence against you, putting cuffs on somebody, putting them in a car to take them away to a cage. And I don't care what the person did or whatever. I'm talking about they're in I would say a dissociative state. And that's dangerous, man. These individuals are dangerous. These individuals aren't acting on their own conscience. They're not thinking consciously. These individuals are acting like robots on remote control, like stormtroopers. This should frighten anybody. Let's continue. Good. We're doing good on time. I just want to cover this. Then there's another form of this kind of psychosis. It's that blaming the victim kind of thing. When a person, for one example would be like when a person begins to object to the questions or threats being placed against them by a law enforcer, or even just minorly questioning. I'm not even talking about F-bombing a law enforcer, which I wouldn't suggest anybody do. But and really getting like that. I mean, let's just stick with the topic here. I'm just talking about when a person just begins to object to the threats against them, and objecting and not completely wanting to comply with the duress and the violating of their rights, and showing displeasure. The order followers will then say, you are making this worse on yourself. You are responsible. Basically, these order followers think that the individual that they're engaging in the violence against is responsible for the violence being engaged against them. In a sense, you're victimizing yourself. You're making this worse on yourself, but they're the ones actually doing the action and creating the worst conditions that are being affected to a person slightly objecting or asking questions or whatever, or not talking at all. That's what I would suggest to most people. I would strongly suggest, if you don't really want to converse with a police officer, I would suggest that you don't say anything. But even that can get you in big trouble, boy, I'll tell you. But unconsciously, these order followers rest on the belief that you, the person that they're engaging against in violence, are victimizing yourself. This person's victimizing themselves. I'm not victim. That's what these order followers are saying. I'm not actually, deep down unconscious, I'm not actually engaging, I'm not actually victimizing this person. This person's victimizing themselves by not completely complying with my wishes. And this is a serious form of psychosis. These order followers are absolutely detaching themselves from their actions. If you're a parent of one of these order followers, you are a failure of a parent, a horrendous failure of a parent. Individuals who suffer from these psychoses are just absolutely self-loathing, full of fear, and just not properly raised as children. And that's what I wanted to finish off and hammer out there. These individuals are not acting on their own conscience, and that's why blindly following orders, I don't care if it's in order to go feed a starving child, or if it's in order to go to some other country and blow a bunch of people away for oil. Blindly following orders is the pathway to absolute evil. Look up history. What happened in Nazi Germany? What was the number one reason for what happened in Nazi Germany? Not anti-Semitism, folks. Order following was the reason why. Order following. All mass murders in history are from order following. Hitler and his psychotic SS close buddies, I guess guys like Himmler, I guess his name was, and Goering, and then there was like Strughold, and read Operation Paperclip, good book, and like Wentz, and these guys, I think it was Wentz, these guys are just a bunch of individuals. These couple guys are not going to be able to murder 30 million people. You need order followers. You need guys just I'm just doing my job while I'm steamrolling, bulldozing all these bodies into this ditch. Hey, I'm just doing my job. I got mouths to feed. There you go. That's order followers right there for you. And that concludes order followers for now. I got a whole lot more to go with. I don't know what to say, folks. It's really bad.